We're going to get started in 2 minutes. We want to be respectful of everyone's time. So right at 7 o'clock, we are going to start our presentation. Thank you for being here. We'll be right back. Well, good evening and welcome to Staging Secrets on a Shoestring Budget. My name is Sharon Parento and I have a special guest tonight with me, and I'm so excited because she's one of my favoriteest, most talented stagers in this industry, and I'm so appreciative of the talents and her time that she's sharing with us tonight. So welcome. We are going to be endeavoring to answer two basic questions. What is staging and why does it matter? So let's get right into things because we have a chock block time together tonight filled with information. Just as an introduction, my name is Sharon Parento. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams and started a company called S.M.A.R.T Realty Solutions. One of the things that we have always done is added value through educational seminars, at first in person, and now, of course, on a digital platform such as what you're watching us from. And one of the things that I realized is that the landscape of real estate has really changed since some of my clients who are typically 55 and older last bought or sold a property. So there is a changing set of requirements, and part of my job is to help them understand why lots of things can be done to increase the value of their most important investment, which is their home. So we have a long, proud history of serving in the community, both in volunteer and in-person presentations. So let's get going. As I mentioned, we are going to try to answer two really key questions. What is staging? And why is it so important? So staging, as we're going to hear, is something that occurs just before a home is launched to the MLS market. And it really endeavors to have one main goal, that it can be photographed and presented in a variety of media, whether that is print or online or a website, so that your home really looks its best. And it's not what your husband might think it is. It's not 47 throw cushions from Winners and a few artfully thrown throws off the edge of a bed. It is really a strategy to create particular outcomes that are going to be most attractive to your buyers. When we talk about staging, we are really establishing a goal in mind, and that is that we're going to create something that is both comfortable and cozy, but also just has that little bit of chic, colorful, inviting environment that is broadly appealing. Really real estate is always about getting as many people attracted to your home as possible. It's like spreading the net as far and wide. We do that through social media and through our various marketing activities, but we can only present what we have to work with. So staging helps us to create that standout first impression with home buyers and motivates them to get out of their house and come see your listing. Especially as the weather gets darker and colder and wetter, we really want to create that wow effect that's going to bring them in. So how does it start? Now, Courtney is going to spend some time at the end of our presentation really going through her steps, but in general, we start with a consultation. As a matter of fact, Courtney and I have one tomorrow morning at a property that we're going to be listing, and we're going to do a walkthrough of the property, after which she's going to create a quotation and outline everything that should be done for the property, any kinds of recommendations she has prior to the staging, and then exactly what is going to happen in each room, room by room. So there is no fuzziness here. This is crystal clear, it's outlined, and you will know what to expect. But I'm going to tell you, even when you think you know what you're going to expect, the results are far better than you can imagine. So we don't typically do empty homes, and we're going to get to that at the end. What we usually do is start with your basics. So why is it so critically important to home sales? The last time I bought a house was 11 years ago, and it wasn't staged. But now, more than ever, we really do need to stage to some degree virtually every house we come across. Why? Well, it has a lot to do with how homes are sold these days. In the old days, you went to a realtor's office and flipped through a book and chose the one that met your criteria, and then you went and saw it in person, and that was your first engagement with that property. But right now, both buyers and their realtors are evaluating properties online before they've seen it, before they've gotten a sense of its atmosphere or ambiance, and they are treating it like a dating app where if your home doesn't meet the muster, then it just is, swiped left and they move on to the next house. So that's a huge change, and we really can't overstate how critically important it is that your home be appealing online, because that's how buyers are finding homes. So your buyers have some particular interests. Number one, if they're coming to your home, they're likely a move-up buyer. Maybe COVID has reminded them that they need a bit more elbow room as people work from home and school from home, and they want the backyard. They want to get into a version of the good life that they remember from their childhood. But they have some pretty particular pain points that directly relate to why I'm suggesting we should stage properties. Number one, they are deeply in debt. And if they ever look at a home and ascertain that it's going to cost too much money to modernize it to their taste, they are likely to swipe left on this. And the other thing is, because they have so much busyness in their life, they are overscheduled. They really don't have a lot of time for a fixer-upper. Now, we can sell homes that are fixer-uppers, no doubt, but even those, I'm going to recommend we do some degree of staging just to show the potential. Even if we know darn well they're going to rip out the kitchen, we're still going to show it in its best, most modern, contemporary light so that we can attract that buyer. So when they look online, they are engaging the services of a realtor fairly late in the buying cycle, maybe just when they've seen a home that they really want to go see. So they're making up their own mind online and then contacting realtors a lot of the time. I think that this report from 2015 is a bit outdated. I'm going to suggest that the buyers that I work with, virtually all of them are sending me listings. We kind of are collaborating. I'll send them some, they'll send me some, but we are all looking online. The internet has democratized that information and made it available to everyone. So when they're searching, they're looking online through these various portals, these different websites, and that's why we have to make sure your house looks good, not just in person, but in the photography and in the videography and in the property brochure that we're going to create. So that's really the genesis of why staging has become so important. I want to give you a real life example. This is not about me suggesting you have to do things superficially because, oh, otherwise your house won't sell. This is me telling you have to do things superficially because your house won't sell. Like this example right here, it was on market for more than a year, and it was a gorgeous house on a beautiful piece of property, but it looked tired and dated and wasn't attracting the 30 and 40-year-olds willing to pay a luxury home price. It looked like grandma's cozy cottage, and it kind of was. But the issue is, we don't want to sell your house the way you live in it. Just like you wouldn't want to sell my used car the way it currently looks. We're going to do some things to gussy it up a bit and really make sure that the message is fine-tuned to attract that particular buyer. So when we took over the listing, we had it on the market at the kind of slump of the market after the 2017. And it took us a couple of months, which today seems ridiculous, but then was actually a really good outcome. And we brought that bit of bougie chicness to the property, and it sold. And the things that had been really deemed a negative were turned into a positive. So buyers state, this is from research done by the National Association of Realtors in the US, where they have access to this data, that the biggest advantage of staging is that it allows buyers to see themselves in your space, that they're not distracted by your personal belongings or your clutter or the fact that they don't like your furniture. They are just looking at the house, and we're providing them with kind of a neutral palette for their own imagination. So that's a big thing. And they were more willing to go to a home that had been staged. They were more willing to get out of their house, their comfort zone, and come and see yours. So there's a lot of benefits that buyers have reported of why they prefer a home that has been staged. And this is because we can create compelling images of that property based on its best features. So I just want to show you this. I'm going to double check that it's not too loud. This is just a little promo, like a little, almost like property commercial. So on the left, we have pictures that were on the MLS. On the right, we have a version of the property brochure. And in the center here is a little promo video that we put out onto social media. Whoop, back it up. Got a little trigger happy.
Just there you go.
Okay, so even though there was a really huge lot was going to be real, we still wanted to show it in its best light, because the highest and best use of a property is going to be from someone who is going to live there themselves and willing to renovate it. So the benefits of the staging, according to sellers, comes down to two variables. Number one, do they think that it increased the value of their home? And I'm going to say that almost half of the participants felt like it had increased their home by 1 to 15, 20%. So there's a big range, but even in the 1 to 5%, that is a that is a very good payoff on $1 million house, isn't it? The other thing that they said was that they felt like it had a great impact on decreasing the time on market. Now, listing your home is an inherently stressful process, and we want it to go quickly for you, but not sacrifice on the price. Those two tensions are held there: highest price, quick sale. And really, staging is going to help us to take care of both of those objectives. So how does staging do all this magic? Well, staging is an investment first and foremost, and we're going to see that if you invest $2,000 or $3,000, $5,000 in today's market to stage a home, you are going to get the money back 10 times. Can I absolutely guarantee that? Can I sign a promissory note? No, but the vast majority of case studies that both Courtney and I have worked on together, we know that the staging made a difference because potential buyers told us so through their agents. Their agents said to us things like, wow, great presentation, really looks great, a well-maintained home, all of these kind of watchwords that we're listening for to tell us that we're on the right track with our potential buying public. So how does it do all this? How does it render this magic? Well, it's going to do so in 4 basic ways. Number 1, it's enhancing the buyer's first impression by creating an environment that is light and bright, is spacious to its maximum potential. It's going to establish a natural flow through the property and allow for people who come in groups to not feel like they're crowded or bunched up. And we're also going to restore the function of certain rooms. And I'm going to share a little bit more about each of these before we get to our special guest, Courtney Keys of Touch of Prestige Staging. So most of all, we are trying to engender an emotional response from potential buyers that they've already looked at the home in terms of its size, its neighborhood, the number of bedrooms, the price, all of that, yada, yada, yada. But now we want to hook them. And the way we're going to do that is begin by lightening and brightening as much as we possibly can. So there's that same home, our case study here. A lot of knotty pine, a lot of wood everywhere. It felt kind of pulled in, and it was actually a very beautiful space once we took out some of the older furnishings and brightened it up. Even something that was kind of an outdated feature, that sideboard, we turned it into kind of a focal point of the room. So you can really see that by opening it up and allowing for the natural light to reverberate around that space, it just was far more appealing and photographed so much better. Here's another example. Now, this goes a little beyond staging to include neutralizing the wall color. And I would say that that could be a recommendation that Courtney gives you. If you've got colors, a color palette that is varied from room to room, one of the things that you can be doing prior to listing your home, even prior to engaging the services of a stager, is to neutralize those walls. See, there's no lack of color in that second picture. We've got the pop, we've got the wow, but it is still possible for furnishings in it because the basic palette is very neutral. Where when you've got peach walls, oh my God, that's a lot of work, right? And it's going to not feel as contemporary and inviting, and not as light and bright as we'd like it to be. So we also to create that sense of spaciousness. Now, this is a property, again, one that was listed by another agent and did not sell. It wasn't staged. It was tidied, it was cleaned up, it was decluttered, but it wasn't staged. Look what we did with the same room. First of all, that stripy bed skirt and comforter really draws your eye. It really cuts up the visual lines of this room. And by slightly changing the camera angle and getting rid of the focal point, which is that bedding and the TV, we were able just to expand this room exponentially. It's the same room, but it feels so much more spacious. Another example, sorry for the fuzzy photo, but this is a townhouse that was tiny, like 1,100 square feet tiny. And before we staged it, it had a huge leather sofa, kind of an L-shaped sectional that was cutting this room in half. And because it was black, it really dominated the visual landscape. So we pulled that out and we reduced the furnishings down to just 2 armchairs to suggest that this is the place where you watch TV, but not to actually be used as such, if you know what I mean. So we needed to divide the room into 2 zones, one that was an office space and one that was a relaxation space, and still create spaciousness. And how did we do that? By minimizing the furnishings and anchoring that one area with a light colored area rug. Now, this is an example of a property that was not staged. This is another agent's listing. We pulled this from the MLS as well. And this listing was identical to a home that we sold across the street. And you can kind of see the problems with this portrayal online. Number one, this home actually had the most gorgeous gardens just outside those windows, but you can't see that. So this homeowner chose not to have the property staged, and we have a lot of furnishings in a small room that makes it feel claustrophobic and somewhat dated. Now, again, this isn't some kind of criticism or critique of your style. It's just making sure your property appeals to who's going to buy it. This was an older couple that were downsizing, and I can guarantee you that the people who bought this house were not also an older couple downsizing. We sold the exact same house across the street. We staged it, and ours got $27,000 more than this house. So this isn't a make work project. This is simply getting you top dollar for your home by making sure that it presents well online. So again, we want to talk about flow. This is like the third of the pillars of staging. This is a house up in Newmarket that we sold where the bed had been turned against the wall sideways, and we rotated it to allow greater access by the groups out to this really nice feature that was somewhat blocked off before to this deck that was off the master bedroom. So we wanted to rearrange the furnishings. We used the basics. We fancied it up a bit, but these are still the same basic furnishings, just rearranged to allow for flow. Same thing here. This is the townhouse that was quite small and crowded. It had an extra organizer along the wall that we took out and pushed everything a little tighter to the wall to allow access out those patio doors, because buyers want to see all of the home. And if there is a way through a room, like a passageway from a dining room to a kitchen, or a kitchen to a family room, or a family room out to the backyard, we don't want to obstruct any of that. That's a really important feature of that house, and we want to show it off. So here's the final example of the flow principle here, is that we're creating wide open access to the home for the realtor, the buying couple, maybe their children, although children aren't supposed to come in now with COVID, but you get the gist that we really want to create that openness and allow for ease of traffic. So the last, I think this is the principle here of the third principle of functionality. When we have homes, like I'm actually sitting right now in what used to be my daughter's bedroom that's been transformed into an office. But I'm going to guarantee you, if I was ever to sell this home, it would not stay as an office, because I have a 3-bedroom home and I want to show it as a 3-bedroom home. This is that same property that was listed with another agent. And one of the huge secondary bedrooms was this. And we are talking a pretty penny in Markham for this house. So we immediately wanted to restore it back to a bedroom. And this is actually a little stager's tip that Courtney, I know, has used before. And that is that this isn't an actual bed. This is an air bed on milk crates, draped it with a king size sheet. And then there is no actual headboard. We just used oversized throw cushions as a headboard. Again, it's creating the impression that they are buying a 4-bedroom home, not a 3-bedroom home plus an ugly office. So what these 3 pictures really highlight is that when you have bonus space, we want to give a suggestion to the buyer of what that bonus space might be used for. So it was a junk room, now it's a bedroom. It was an area of dead space in a condo, now it's a work from home space. It was a cluttered everything room, and we've turned it into a home theater and family games room. These are all value-added features of this house, these properties that would have been missed. So 3 different examples of how by restoring the functions of rooms, we are expanding the value of your property. Just reminding buyers what they are getting for their money and the potential use. Again, they can make the imaginative connection to those spaces and say, wow, I need a condo with a work from home space, or I need a family home with a place to entertain the kids all winter. Ding, ding, ding. And then finally, we're looking to create that feeling, a feeling of tranquility, peace, a real invitation. And I know that nobody, well, maybe not anybody I know would try to list and sell their home on the left, but you can really see that you would much rather picture yourself in the picture on the right. And along that same lines, this was a very expensive condo in Aurora, and we wanted to create that boutique condo feeling, and we did that by staging for sure. And we made sure, this is one of the kind of lessons that I've learned from Courtney and other staging professionals, is that there is a color palette that unifies all of the pictures of the same property, so that when people are looking through the property, it doesn't look like it's a Color Your World paint store that Benjamin Moore has painted every room a different color. It's harmonious, it's unified, it's cohesive in its presentation. So we took the stronger turquoise color from the living room, dining room area and brought it in a more subtle, relaxing hue for the bedroom. Okay. So which one would you rather imagine yourself in? And in this exercise, we're just asking you to take on the point of view of the buyer. So this was a condo in Agincourt that was owned by an elderly person, and we took the same basic furnishings and we had to deal with the light pink walls, and we turned it into something that had a very beachy feel. Well, lots of white and nautical nods, shells and beach paintings and things like that. These are all the same furnishings, but just reorganized, repurposed, and re-accessorized. So we ended up, again, having a really terrific outcome on this property. And we know that we made a difference in this person's retirement fund by creating such an appealing picture that we had dozens of people through, and we had multiple offers. So not every realtor insists on this. Some of these pictures I'm going to show you are rather hilarious. There's a Facebook group called the Really Bad MLS Pictures, and I pulled this from it. And not only, this is kind of a cropped version of it. It was a larger picture, but we've got family photos. We've got the plate collection, the magnets on the walls, stuff on the stairs. You're going to break your leg. And look, they couldn't even get rid of Grandpa for the 30 seconds it took to set up the shot. So not every realtor insists on this, but then you can see why buyers are looking at that going, wow, that looks a little shabby, shall we say. These again are photos taken from the MLS. I pulled this one. Like, why in the world would the realtor allow this picture to go up on the MLS? That we are literally looking over this guy or gal's junky desk filled with papers, personal planner. The very least you could have done is shot it from the doorway. Maybe that wasn't even a worse view. I don't know, but we owe it to our clients to give them competent representation. And I'm going to tell you, there's no way I would allow that to be the image. And now this one on the right is hilarious. This is actually a realtor trying to sell their own home. And I have to say that realtors are their own worst enemies sometimes, when they're their own clients. This kid appeared in 3 or 4 pictures, and this was a listing that was worth $2 million. This was an expensive home. They even got a coffee cup out. I think the worst example I ever saw was a listing in my neighborhood here in Richmond Hill with another realtor, and there was a package of ground beef thawing on the counter. The same realtor in another listing had a Harry's No Frills bag hanging from the back of one of the chairs. It's like, no, we owe it to you to represent you at your very best. So sometimes, though, it can go a little too far. The pendulum can swing a little too far the other way. And this is what I don't like. And that's when the staging looks every bit as cluttered as probably the original room did. And that's what I love about Courtney. She and I have such a simpatico when it comes to our aesthetic. Like, she makes it chic, she makes it upscale, but not overdone. Like, this is crazy. How many pillows have we got there? And one of the properties we went into on one of our condo tours before COVID, we counted, and it was like 37 decorative items that were there. So we know that it can be too much of a good thing as well, that a light touch is really what is best for everyone. And I think that this is kind of a funny do's and don'ts situation here. So this is Courtney's handiwork. Absolute Courtney. I think she is a genius. She took this townhouse in Richvale on Springhead Gardens that we just recently sold, and we ended up having 25 offers on this property. 14 of them were firm, and we sold it for $910,000, which was $222,000 above asking. Why? Because even though it had a few little condition issues, the buyers overlooked that and saw the potential. So this is huge money, huge money. And that's why we recommend it. We are going to get to Courtney now. Thank you for your patience. I hope I haven't sped through this too quickly, but rest assured, we'll be sending you this presentation, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of it so you can review it at your leisure. But really, there's nothing more powerful than a before and after. Oh, we got an after and an after. We'll have to edit that. It's a before and an after. So Courtney, so much fan of yours, and as the director of operations and our certified stager of choice for as many properties as we can get you for, we always want to work with you. But she's so talented, she's often booked up. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. So Sharon, you touched on some great points there. I was just nodding away the whole time. I'm like, yes. She gets it. I'm just going to kind of go through the process of staging and how we approach things, because a lot of clients do find it overwhelming. Well, the home selling process in general is overwhelming, and then throwing staging into it, like, this is too much, it's too overwhelming. It doesn't always mean let's remove all your furniture, we're starting from scratch, reno the house, do this, do that. There's a lot of different levels to staging, and that means that we can work really within any budget. I mean, not a dollar, but basically within any budget we can make something work that will really show a big impact. So as Sharon mentioned, it all starts with a consultation. So we'll come in together, me and Sharon, and do a tour of the home, really take photos, go through every single room in the house, not just looking at the furniture and the items that are there, but also the condition. Like, is there any repairs that need to be done? Is there light bulbs out? Is there, light fixtures that we could change to really modernize the space, things like that. And then after that whole tour, I provide the clients with a checklist. So it's room by room recommendations. Try to make it as streamlined and easy as possible. As Sharon mentioned, like, we're here to make the process as smooth and as stress-free as we can possibly make it. So I give them a checklist, room by room recommendations, foyer, remove this item, keep this item, what we're going to do, replace light bulbs, et cetera, et cetera. So they have this nice list to follow, and just to make things a lot more simple and streamlined for them. And something Sharon touched on as well is I like to stress to clients that it's not personal. We're here to make you the most money possible. I'm not coming into the home, criticizing your design choices or this or that. It's not about that. If someone wants to come into my home too, they'd probably have some suggestions for me as well if it was coming to sell. We live differently than the way that we should sell a home. So when we go through, it's an emotional time, it's an emotional process. I like to stress to the clients that it's not that we don't like this painting. It's not that we don't like this sofa. We're just trying to look at it through the buyer's eyes and give them the, it's only going to help you. It's only going to make you more money. So that's something that I find really important when I go into consultations, because it's people's personal things, and we don't want you to think that it's an attack on your taste. So
absolutely. And you're a professional. Like, I don't claim to be a professional, home decorator. If you've got a better way of doing things, or if I've missed out on a feature of the home that I'm trying to sell, by accident, I've blocked off the way to the patio or something. That's not a personal statement. It's just really helping. Yeah.
And like you said,
thank you. Keep going.
No problem. The way that we live in a home is different than how we should sell it. So like Sharon mentioned as well, you might have to have an office set up on the kitchen table or in the kids' spare bedroom, et cetera. But when it comes to time to stage, that's something we always recommend, is turning the room back to its original function. Something that I always like to remind people is people have no imaginations. They come into a home, they see it, they think this is how it is. Oh, there's no room for me to walk around this living room. It's too small. There's only 2 bedrooms because one stage does an office. There's only 2 bedrooms. They can only see what's right in front of them. So making sure every bedroom is staged as a bedroom is important, because they'll walk through the house and forget, be like, I only saw 2 beds. This was only a 2-bedroom house, forgetting that the office is a bedroom. So that's very, very important, especially if it's only like a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom place. You got to really show all the functionality of every single space there. What was my next point I had here? Yeah, so we try to make it not as overwhelming as possible. And something that is a misconception is that staging is always just for vacant homes, or would mean that we are going to take out all your furniture and bring in all new furniture. That's not the case. Yes, we do vacant homes, but we can work with clients' furniture of any extent, unless something is severely damaged, way the wrong size, like way too oversized for the space. We like to try to work with as much as the client's furniture as possible. Everything can be workable if it's just the right scale and the right, kind of flow for the space. So it doesn't need to be overwhelming. It doesn't need to mean that you have to get rid of everything. A lot of time it's just editing, so there could be a room a lot of times that has 2 love seats, an armchair, and a sofa. Let's just pare it down and get rid of a bit of it, and then just reposition and getting a better flow for the room. So it doesn't need to be a complete overhaul that way. That is something else. So yeah, so after the consultation and the list is given, that's when the packing and the fun begins. We try to remind people you're moving anyways, so might as well get started. Once it's time to actually move out of the house, you're going to be about 50% done. So decluttering, depersonalizing is always, always, always something we recommend. It's those little things like Sharon showed in the picture that make a place look cluttered and messy. You might not notice it day to day, but if you're looking at a photo, having a clear countertop just makes the kitchen look huge. Having no magnets on the fridge just makes things look so much cleaner. So it's those little things that really take no time to just clear them off that really, really, really make a big impact. And having a nice detailed checklist to take you through the process will just make it super easy for you. So yeah, the decluttering, depersonalizing, especially, you know, the whole thing is an emotional process. It's such a psychological thing. People might not think it makes sense, staging or this, but it really is a psychological and emotional purchase. You want someone to come into the home, flow through the space, and then start imagining that they're going to live there. You know, once people start thinking, oh, my son would have this room, I could set up my gym here, that's when we hook them, right? So you don't want to be walking through a space imagining this could be your kid's bedroom and then seeing a bunch of pictures of another kid, you know? So we try to depersonalize all family photos out because privacy as well. You don't want your pictures being around or being in the MLS shots, but also we want people to imagine themselves living there. So that kind of takes them out of the moment a little bit.
So what I'm hearing you say is that, like, I want to take the example of 29 Kitsilano. We took the 2 sofas from the family room where it was kind of tight and we moved them up to the living room. We used the client's existing dining room table, but then brought in more contemporary looking seating. So much, she loved it so much, she's already bought them. She found them online and has bought them for her new place.
Oh, I love it.
So we're taking down the family photos and maybe we're putting up coordinated art that, you know, looks kind of in a similar, right? Okay. And we're making sure that if it's like the principal bedroom, it's the bedroom. It's not the bedroom / treadmill / office / like it's a place. Yeah, it's a place to sleep so that we're creating, you know, emotional.
Exactly. You don't want to be going to bed and thinking about work or working out or anything like that. We know that's reality, but we want to paint a picture for people coming in. And so important, which I agree with Sharon so much, is that everyone's shopping online for everything, including houses now. And especially during the COVID world, we got busier than ever because the photos are so important that if you don't have good pictures of your listing, like it's not, people are gonna swipe right through it. So having those photos, having it be eye-catching, having, you know, no clutter, just looking picture perfect is what's gonna bring people in the door. And it takes a lot more people to get out of the house these days. I know we're all ready to get out now, but getting people to actually take the time and go in somewhere, you really gotta hook them. So having that is increasingly important.
Yes, and I'm going to agree with you that buyers now, when they come to see a house, they're not looking at it casually. They are serious buyers. They are not tire kickers or looky-loos, that if they're coming to a property, they're choosing between your property and maybe 1 or 2, possibly 3 others, and that's it. So we really have to make sure that we've captured their attention. So we do have some questions in the chat box, if you wouldn't mind. Now, number 1 is, how much should you spend to stage? Is there a formula for the price of a house? This is a lot of what I hear as well. How much is it going to cost me?
So the short answer is it always depends. You know, there's no formula. You can't just kind of punch in like it's this square footage. You know, for a vacant, it's a little bit easier to sort of tabulate based on square footage or something like that. But it really depends on the consultation. How much furniture of yours can we use? How much would we have to bring in? It really, really varies. But if a budget is ever concerned, we like to kind of address that right away. So I'm like, I only have such and such to spend. What can I do with that? We can make something happen. Like we said, a lot of times it's taking more out than it is putting in for a lot of these homes, especially, you know, the big family homes where families have been in for years and years and years and collected. They have furniture, they have things, we just need less. Like with that staging photo that you showed, that was too much. We need less. Less is more, less is more. So it's a lot more taking things out than putting in. But yeah, it always just lies on the quote. There's no really formula. It kind of depends how much, but we can work within pretty much any budget to make something happen.
You know, I was just thinking, like, we've recently worked together on 2 projects, 29 Kitsilano, which was 1,500 square feet, and 70 John Button, which was 4,000 square feet. And yet the quote was less on the larger home because there was more of the client's own furnishings to work with. So, you know, it really is a case by case, and it's a very personalized service. I don't think anybody really expects it to be as big of an endeavor on your part as it is. When they see the moving truck come in and they see the guys, you know, our favorite guys who are lifting and toting and pulling things in for you, I think they're like, whoa. And then also, and then you also have to take it all back out again when the house is sold, right? So like, it's a very personalized, hands-on service. So like number 2,
it depends. So the one we didn't have to bring any sofas in, the one we did, and it really varies, and we can work within any budget. So doing it that way.
But I love, you know, one of your best talents, like, you have many talents, but one of your best talents is, in my view, is having the imagination to pull things from different rooms and seeing them regrouped in a way like that just blows the homeowner's socks off. Like, I never would have thought of that rug from the bedroom in the kitchen with that painting from the living room.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
I know the one you mean, exactly.
Yeah. So that you have such an eye for, like, oh, I remember. And we can go through, and sometimes we have that, you know, that chair would look great, you know. Yeah. Okay. So
that's the personalized side of it. Like you said, you know, vacant it's almost easier. You can bring in all contemporary, you can do this and that, but there's no cookie cutter thing. That's why there's really no formula, because every house is so different, and we have such a wide variety of inventory. Because I love working with clients' furniture, so we have to have very specific things that, you know, could match a floral sofa if we had to. It could go with this printed chair of Nona's that we need to work with. So everything that we can, it's very, very tailored. Just like there's no set price, there's really no set staging package. It's not that I bring the same stuff from house A to house B. It's very tailored to the house, the demographic, the furniture that's there. We really tailor all that together. So sorry, continue.
Excellent. No, it's fine. I love it. And I think you can kind of tell I'm a wannabe stager. If I had talent, I might give you a run for your money, but you're very lucky. I have no talent. Now, we talked about number 2, how to stage a home on a small budget. Well, next week, when we come back for part 2, I'm going to give you some of the insider tips about things to do. Like, we've seen a few examples, swapping out pattern bedding for just neutral white bedding, shower curtains for white, all of that. We're going to get into some more of that next week. It'll be much more hands-on. But today, we're setting up the kind of higher level discussion of what staging is. And how do you make a house look tidy? Well, I think you answered that. You want to give another crack at it?
Yeah. A lot of times it's just less is more. Like, people are like, you know, you're used to having all the things on your countertops, your bathroom counters, your kitchen counters. Clear the counters off, just leave, you know, a nice little plant to make it look like a spa, things like that. But it's always less is more. You know, a lot of times people have a photo on every single wall, a painting. Less. You don't need something on every wall. You don't need something on every surface of every table. It can be clear, because in photos, you know, they have the wide angle lens. They have that. It just makes things look massive. The house looks tidy. It looks bigger, and it's just less is more. And then with the consultation as well, we'll give all those tips on how to make it look like the tidiest.
Yeah, and I do think that there is a movement towards more minimalist, you know, in general decor. We're not showing collections of teacups or Royal Doulton or china like we used to. Like, everything is really, like you said, edited. Should you only stage for the open house?
No. For the whole time. Yeah. So we bring in the staging, and it's 30-day contract that it is. So it's up to 30 days. A lot of times they don't need it that long, majority of the time. So we put it in, and it's there for the showings. It's there for any open houses, which I think we're finally getting back to, right? So it's there for the full time. And then once the house is sold, our crew comes and picks it all up. So, we set it up for the pictures and make it picture perfect. You still have to live in the space. Oh, I see, that's the next question anyways. When you're living in the space too, I like to give them tips of, how to make the bed for when there's a showing, keeping things as tidy as possible. So we do take that into consideration as well. A lot of times, yes, we'd like to move this office from this room because it would look better, but you work from home. So we always we do have to take that sort of thing into consideration, especially these days with people working from home, that we get you living in the space, you're working in the space, you have kids. So we always sort of try to tailor that as well, but also explaining, if you could go stay with your parents for the week, sometimes that's beneficial because the house will look better. It's all about recommendations. This will make you the most amount of money, but we also don't want to disrupt your entire life. So it's kind of up to the client how much we can and can't do. If they're willing to pack up the office and, work from the kitchen table and pack it back up, that's ideal. But if they really need a full desk setup, we can adapt and make that work as well. So.
Right. So there is the ideal, but then there's also reality. And part of your service is accommodating those realities and finding a happy medium. How can we still get, like, for example, a lot of times what we're saying to them is put it away for picture day, right? Where when the photographer comes in, it's looking pristine. We always try to schedule the photographer directly after the staging. So nothing, and then I go around like a crazy fool, fluffing and puffing and putting down toilet seats. Yeah, and then we understand that you might have to pull out the mix master or something, during showings. But for the pictures, at least, we're trying to keep it in original Courtney condition. So where do we put the stuff? Where do you put the extra stuff? If we have a bunch of, go ahead.
Yeah, that can depend as well on the storage space. I like to ask ahead of time before we start recommending, remove this, do you have somewhere to put it? So a lot of times garage, if there's an unfinished basement, if there's an extra sort of storage room in the basement, it kind of all depends. A garage is a garage, it's a 2-car, it's a 1-car. Having some things stored in there isn't a big deal. So that's usually where things end up. Or, I've had people rent storage units before, and they might be moving to a different city anyways and kind of start moving it that direction. We can always find a solution that works for them.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and working with my downsizing clients, this is the time when the kids have to come, their adult children have to come and pick up the stuff that has been set aside for them. Sure. Like there's an impetus now, there's a motivation that, if you want grandma's China hutch, now's the time to take it. Occasionally, rarely, we have clients who rent a storage spot. If there's going to be a time when they're between homes, like the property that they're selling is going to close and the other one needs some renovations, whatever, sometimes we have a storage situation. But most of the time, you're right, we're using on-site storage. And those places in the basement that we're not going to be photographing, if you've got a furnace room, even we're not going to be taking pictures of your furnace. So that's a great place to put it, right? Yeah.
A lot of times, okay, so time to, if it's a quick turnaround and they need to just pack and store everything, fine. But if there is some time to, like, you're moving anyways, now's the time to go through, like, are you going to want to take this stuff with you? Now's the time to get rid of it, donate it, sell it, do all the things you need to do beforehand. Just save you the time when it's time to move. So that we recommend as well.
I remember you telling one of our clients who was concerned about the throw cushions on the bed to take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Take a picture of it and then you know how to make the bed.
I've had clients be like, I'm just going to sleep on the couch tonight because I don't want to mess up the bed. I'm like, no, it's not that complicated. Just take a photo. Right. You can recreate it. And
yeah. It's funny because it is that, like we said, that balancing act between real life and ideal marketing condition, right? So other questions? These are great. I love talking shop with you, Courtney. Do we have any other questions from people? Maybe if you want to, if you don't feel comfortable finding your way to the text box here, the group chat box, you're welcome to unmute and just ask the question.
Yeah, looking forward to next week with the tips and tricks and things. Because there are
Yeah,
some
so-
things that are always a given that we do in every single space. So be good to get
Yeah.
into that stuff.
And then there's kind of some staging, almost like memes now, where like I've joked that all you need to sell a house is a bowl of limes and 3 bottles of Perrier in the kitchen.
Done. Staged.
Done. 30,000 over asking. I just gotta tell you one other. I went into a condo and I was searching with buyers, and in the living room they had a set of reading glasses from the dollar store perched up on top of a hardcover book with a teacup beside it. And then I thought, wow, that's novel. And then I went into the bedroom and there was a hardcover book with a set of reading glasses from the dollar store and another teacup.
Oh,
and it's like,
gosh.
okay.
It's too staged for me. Yeah. It's
Right, too staged.
Yeah. Feel natural.
Or the ones where you have you seen this? Maybe you're even guilty of this, Courtney. True confession time, where you go into the kitchen and there's a big mixing bowl and a cookbook with like chocolate chip cookies, like as if we had just interrupted the big
the
baking
book's still
spree.
open.
Right, yeah. No. I love your style and I think you're super talented, and I'm great to have you as part of the S.M.A.R.T Realty team. I look forward to seeing you in 13 hours. Yeah. So, and we get to do another project together. So thanks a lot for your generosity and being here today. Thank you for sharing your insider tips, and we'll look forward to seeing you a week from today at 7 p.m.
See you then.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And if you have other questions, don't forget, you can reach out at any time. You know how to get in touch with me, and we can take it as a case-by-case consultation. Okie dokie. There I am, all photoshopped. And we thank you again. Bye for now.
Bye.